The Punisher is known for being a stone-cold, brutal killer to correct injustice and rid society of heinous criminals. He's gotten into a lot of fights, many where he's outnumbered and he always survives. And these fights usually end in death, which is determined by him, and it's his decision because he's always winning these fights. And there's 3 pillars to his fighting style, which is how he's able to win every fight and make that decision of life or death. Starting with the infamous prison fight scene from Daredevil Season 2. Frank is told an inmate who essentially runs the prison was connected to the drug deal that led to the death of Frank's family. He's given an opening to kill him and then leave. So Frank goes and stabs him in his cell, and this is one of 2 reasons Frank will kill someone: the death of his family. His heart's full of vengeance over it. Frank tries to leave, but realizes he's been set up when the guards won't let him, and he's trapped in this prison with a bunch of inmates who want to kill him. He soaks in for a second what's about to happen and starts to charge at them like a bull, yelling. Now before it starts, let me tell you something. This run looks stiff-bodied and a little weird, but this is because he's a trained soldier charging like a brawler into the crowd, not like some acrobatic, athletic, martial arts black belt, because that's not who he is. He throws a punch at this guy and blocks the second guy's punch, driving his forearm into his trap. That's a good spot right there to shut down the arm. Then he dodges a wooden stick and uses this guy as an anchor. What's an anchor? He's putting his hand behind his neck and he's stretching his arm out. Now this guy has no strength here, giving Frank the ability to control him and throw him around, and even use him as a shield if he wanted to. That's what I mean by anchor. Frank stops the guy with the stick, drops both arms down, and gives him a headbutt, then pulls his upper body to off-balance it, known as kazushi, and trip him over his leg, taking him down. Not that this is an insanely hard takedown, but takedowns on concrete or in the street can be devastating. An inmate charges at him with a pipe, where Frank can disarm the stick and hits the pipe, and this guy just falls forward. That's a bit dumb, but that's alright. This guy comes at Frank with an ice pick grip around the knife, but Frank blocks at the forearm and drives the wooden stake through his torso and out his back. Absolutely unbelievably brutal. Let me tell you something. This is the first pillar of Frank's fighting style, which is the brutality. The thing that makes you go, ay, oh my goodness. And he's not going to try to do it respectfully, mercifully, cleanly. He just does it as brutal as possible.
Let me ask you this.
Frank had blocked the knife from coming in, but it wasn't perfect, and he actually got stabbed in the arm. This is a great dose of realism here. Whether this guy moved his wrist to stab the knife in, or Frank just didn't block it very well, it's a good way to show that knives are very hard to defend, unlike action movies make them out to be. Frank gives this guy a groin kick to put him down, which he already has a stake through his torso here. This feels a bit pointless, but hey, again, you know, Frank's brutal. Then Frank very slowly pulls the knife out of his own arm. This is part of a pillar I'll bring up a little bit later, but you'll notice as a running theme with the Punisher, no matter what happens to him, he's somehow able to still power through. Then he takes a punch, and this prisoner on the floor has a shiv, which Frank stops and takes his own shiv and does a jackhammer / sewing machine stab into this dude's torso. 2 things. This prisoner is cornered on the ground and laying down, and one of his arms is being held by Frank. There's not very much he could have done to possibly defend against this. Even the most trained knife defense practitioners would struggle. And the best defense in this situation is distance, and this guy is able to get none. He's completely trapped. And again, this sewing machine just stab. That's insanely brutal. So perfect for Frank's character. The second thing is that Frank catches this guy's arm and pulls it back, but the grip Frank uses is at the weak part of the grip, meaning this guy has strength to push his arm forward while Frank is just gripping it to pull it back. But this opening right here is where your grip is the weakest. I've talked about this before, and so it seems like he could easily rip his arm free. For this to be more ideal, Frank should have moved his arm around it and maybe put his knee on the arm or properly disarmed him so he could make sure this guy doesn't break free and then stab Frank. But again, this is a part of how the Punisher fights, is that not everything has to be perfect, and he's gonna take some hits. He's gonna mess up, but one of the main reasons why he always wins is because he comes back as brutal and hard as possible. Frank stabs this guy in the groin, then the sternum, then the heart. Again, the brutality, the humanity. This is 3 successive stabs. This one is lethal for thousands of little lives, and there's no hesitation, no pause, just killing. This is the second pillar of Frank's fighting style. It's his efficiency. Part of the brutality is the fact that he's going for the most vulnerable, painful, and lethal areas possible. So a stab in the balls, insanely painful. Then a stab in the sternum, straight for a bundle of nerves, shuts this guy's body down, and a stab in the heart kills him. Done in under 2 seconds, extremely efficient. This guy swings a metal pipe where Frank closes the distance. Here's a very key concept. Against a swinging weapon, you want to be either far away or very close. The worst place to be is in medium range, and that's exactly where the weapon would hit with maximum force. So Frank chooses the safe distance of getting close, which he does pretty much most of the time. So he blocks the arm and then stabs up into the prisoner's armpit. A stab through the armpit would penetrate the lung. This is a very fatal stab. Again, brutal and efficient. These two kind of go hand in hand. He then stabs him in the neck or the cheek. Blood splatters splatters everywhere, brutal as all hell. Then Frank turns and punches this guy in the liver, simultaneously dodging his swing. The liver is one of the most vulnerable and painful strike points on the human body. Then Frank puts this guy in a guillotine choke and breaks his neck. In a guillotine choke, you can't really break the neck like this. It'd probably be better to try to choke him out, but that would also take a few seconds, and there's other inmates coming at him. So for that move, in terms of realism, but it is still efficient. It's a quick kill, and it immediately neutralizes the threat. Then we get into slow motion. Frank punches into a prisoner's cheek, and the punch cuts the prisoner's cheek open, which is hilarious. The Punisher is, he's a punchy guy. He's got a military background. He doesn't have crazy flashy moves, but he has mastered the simple ones, and oftentimes the simple moves are the most effective. So getting a strong right straight to break open some skin, that's awesome. That just shows how powerful that punch is. This guy throws a punch, and Frank semi-parries it, absorbs part of it to the shoulder. He kind of tanks it, but that's a part of his style. He then snaps this prisoner's neck, killing or paralyzing him. Efficient. This prisoner swings an axe, and Frank collapses into him and taking him to the ground. He grabs behind the prisoner's knee and rolls over him, putting his hand on the weapon arm to pin it. Then bare knuckle obliterates this prisoner's face over and over and over. Note how bloody Frank has gotten by this point. He takes the axe from the prisoner, and instead of using the blade side, he hits him in the head with the blunt side of the axe. Just like, I don't know which one would be more brutal. The blade side would cause more blood, but he purely just does that because he just wants to make the most horrific crime scene possible. I absolutely love it. Frank takes a shoe to the face, takes a couple punches, and this prisoner is trying to choke him. There's a couple things Frank can do here, but think about the efficiency and the brutality that the Punisher has. What does he do? He goes for an eye gouge. Absolutely perfect for a life or death scenario. The eye gouge is the right choice because there's no dilly-dallying. There's no trying to be nice or careful, no holding back. It's a life or death choke. You need the most effective option to get the attacker off immediately. And in reality, an eye gouge would 100% work. You could pop someone's eye in their socket. That is going to stop somebody. It's an overwhelmingly vulnerable target. When it comes to Frank's martial arts style of military close quarters combat and Krav Maga and stuff, it fits exactly. He could have also used his lower body while he's being choked out, but the eye gouge is clearly faster and more effective. One small caveat, this prisoner doesn't stop after getting his eye gouged out, which is a small stretch of believability, but that's cool. So despite that, the prisoner picks up another knife and comes at Frank, where Frank kicks the knee, specifically targeting right above or directly on the knee joint, which destabilizes the leg. It's painful. That's a good weak area on the body. That kick makes this prisoner fall, and as he was coming at him, Frank had grabbed a shiv, and he drives the knife through his neck. Then, this guy's already dead. That's the carotid artery. He's done. But,
man, I'll tell you what.
The Punisher. Frank. He decides to rip it through the entire side of the neck, ensuring maximum blood spray. So this could be the most brutal death as possible. It's like people dying isn't enough for him to feel the anger that he has. Even though this doesn't really change anything, this guy's gonna be dead already anyway. He wants to absolutely maul him, mangle his neck, whatever, make it as brutal as possible. Anyway, after that visceral moment, Frank rises, completely covered in blood, and there's a few things to nitpick about this scene, but gosh, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. There's some good moves in here, and the brutality and the efficiency of his fighting style, it's great. And this is the kind of fight scene that happens when the Punisher is full of rage and consumed by the grief of his family. And that's why he goes as brutal as possible, because that's what he's feeling in his heart. There's no calculation of who should live or die here. It's just everyone will die. And when it comes to two different reasons on why he'll decide if someone should die, it's if the person he's going to be killing is connected to the death of his family, as opposed to just a heinous criminal. And which reason do you think is more brutal? But there are times where he holds back at first. Like I said, most fights end in death for the Punisher. So let me set the scene.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
This lady is in this bathroom, running away from some people chasing her. Frank notices this, and he acts drunk. Hey, I think my friend's in there.
I thought everything was cool. I didn't know that about
Then he hears her scream, and he goes for the efficient and quick boom headbutt.
Whoa!
Perfect there.
I just need a little bit of...
In self-defense, when it comes to headbutts, you want your forehead to hit the nose. Nose. Frank walks in, and these three people are going to attack him. This girl whips out her knife, and he looks offended almost. Oh, you want to try this?
Let me tell you something.
He unbuckles his belt, pulls it out, and wraps it around his arm. Why does he do that? It's just like Rama with the baton, or Brad Pitt from World War Z. It's protection for the bladed weapons that are going to be coming at his arm, because he's going to be blocking them. It's a very, very smart thing to do. You could put this in a tool belt for self-defense as rad wrapping your belt around your arm for protection from bladed weapons. Bonus points for having the buckle hang a little bit loose, and you can whip people with the metal of the buckle. There are improvised weapons in your daily life everywhere. I really like that he did this here. Not only that, he has this signature look on his face with his lips pursed and his nose crinkled kinda. He has this as a resting facial expression all the time. Sometimes it's too much. I mean, what is that? But it's especially prevalent whenever he's about to gear up for a fight, which he's doing right now. They lock the door to the bathroom and she charges at him with the knife. And the person behind him also charges at him with his knife. What he does is he uses that wrap that he put around his forearm to block both of the knives. Now, it doesn't actually touch the knife, but he uses it as a spinning motion to make sure he doesn't get cut. Also take care of blocking both of the knives coming at him at the same time. He grabbed her wrist to redirect her forward, spun around, then clamped his left hand behind her elbow and pushed her forearm forward. So the only thing that's stopping her from stabbing herself is her own tricep. Or she could drop her knife so she doesn't stab herself, but she'd be giving up her greatest weapon. But he's got a lot of leverage on her right here since he's using both arms. And he's using her as a shield by pushing her towards the guy behind her. He front kicks her into him, knocks her down. This guy basically jabs with the knife, and what Bernthal does again is he uses the belt on his arm to redirect it because the knife is unpredictable. He doesn't know where it's going to go, so it's a shielding device. He's using that anytime the knife is coming at him. He takes a punch, but I think he allows that to happen because, you know, it's not the knife, right? Then he dodges under the knife, getting it stuck in the door. Elbows him off of it at the same time. Then he kicks this girl, elbows her. This girl's going to slash at him, and what he does is he scoops under her knife to pick her up and slam her down. No crazy technique there. That's just strength and momentum to slam her on concrete. She ends up getting up, but this would do a lot more damage than this scene is showing. He rolls out of the way of this guy incoming with the knife. Then as a parry, he basically slaps the arm away. And then with that same belt hand, he backhands him in the face and then gives him a punch with his right. Now, like I was saying earlier with the belt buckle, if that belt buckle was sticking out on the backside of his hand, he would have been able to backhand him with the belt buckle, which would have done a lot of damage. The girl comes up with a knife and he blocks it with both of his forearms. Now she just holds it there. But like what he did in the prison fight scene, in real life, she would probably just keep jackhammering it and sewing machining it up into him. And that's where he would have had to disarm the knife quickly or get some distance. Because unlike this guy in the prison scene who was completely trapped, when it comes to someone trying to jackhammer a knife into you, it's really hard to defend. No matter how trained you are, if someone is dedicated to getting that knife to nick you in the torso or stab you, they're going to keep going in and out, and you really just want to create distance. But the way he blocks the knife here is great, as opposed to some other action movies, like Jason Statham, where he literally just grabs the wrist, and it's 10 times harder to just grab a wrist like that. A knife coming at you is too unpredictable, too fast. Using your forearms as a general shield against an incoming knife is way smarter. He pulls her arm away from her body, so she loses all the strength in her arm, and he has the control over the knife hand. He puts her against this wall, puts his hand on her face, and then he decides to just throw her right through this stall. Brutal and insane. Absolutely awesome. Seeing that almost like scratches an itch, like a nice crisp sip of cold water on a really hot day. Now, this is the third pillar of his fighting style that was really prevalent in the prison fight scene too, but his rage. He's so angry in every single fight scene, it's just rah. It's how he's able to have so much endurance and tear through everything like a ram. He approaches it with just so much anger. This lady comes at him slashing about with an ice pick grip. What John Bernthal does when she comes down is he puts his right hand on the top of her elbow, and in the next shot, it's a little bit of a different grip. But essentially the point is that he's able to get a lot of leverage on her upper body to throw her at this wall. Because she's coming down with a lot of momentum and force, he's able to literally just channel it by redirecting it and using her outstretched arm as leverage on the whole body. He does a great job here, and he does it again, because this guy, he picks up and slams in the mirror, gets punched, and then kicks back. He gets grabbed in the chest here, and what he does is he uses his other arm to slam it down, pushing this guy's hands off of his chest, opening his face up for a punch. And this is a good first instinct or reflex to have when someone grabs you on the shirt like that. You have to make sure at least to grab them so they don't transfer the hands up to the throat and start choking you out. But slamming them down too like that is also great, because then it opens them up and gets them off you at the same time. Then he slams his head onto the stall and then down onto the freaking sink, and he breaks the sink. So much rage, so much blood, so much pain that's causing. Like I said, what this show is doing is it's like scratching the itch of just that ferocity, just messing up as much stuff as possible, like a crispy sip of cold water on a hot summer day. Now this girl pops out of the stall, and this is a 2-on-1. She comes at him in the same way as before with the knife, and of course, Frank Castle uses the belt around his arm to stop the knife because he knows that he doesn't want to get cut. He throws a punch, which she blocks, and this girl slices at him. When he dodges, he blocks the knife with both of his arms and swings her forward. Swings the arms down, then throws her into the stall. Then he just punches this lady in the face, then slams a stall door in this girl's face. Then he punches this girl's leg back, very similar to what he did before in the prison fight scene, which knocks her down, and he gives her a left hook to the face. Frank Castle is just beating on women. Blocks the knife from this lady with the forearm, punches this girl in the face, and then with a hold on her knife and then her body, her elbow basically is the fulcrum since he's pulling the limb and her body apart because he doesn't want her to have any strength. The one thing he can do here is stab her with her own knife. Straight in the heart. The brutality, the efficiency, the rage.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
And then he genuinely twists the knife. Like, he's actually twisting the knife, and he shoves it just a little bit more. Like, dude, I think you did it. I think she's dead. And then he throws one last left hook, and this girl charges at him, but gets clocked with the broken scene from before. So you can see here, he takes a good little bit to kill these people, and he only kills one lady. And it really seemed to be when that was just his last option. Frank held back mostly here. But there's a lot of things I liked about this fight scene. He did a lot of smart things, and there were some good practical moves from it. But there's one more bar fight scene where he again holds back as long as possible. And as soon as he sees that a heinous crime, murder, is committed, that's when he flips it on and he stops holding back and he kills everyone. And I'll tell you what, I really like this fight scene. So this one involves the same girl that was being chased from before, and this guy grabs her trying to take her. Frank was already on it, and his first move is grabbing the attacker's hair and yanking him backwards. This is effective because the scalp is extremely sensitive and a hair grab is very painful. More importantly, it's far more effective at pulling and taking control of someone than grabbing their entire body because you're controlling their head, and where the head goes, the body follows. The attacker punches Frank twice, then Frank grabs both the hand and the throat and pulls them in opposite directions. This is essentially a partial choke plus pulling the punching arm away, and it removes the attacker's strength by separating the sources of threat. This is a recurring Frank Castle pattern, could even be a pillar. He constantly pulls limbs away from the body to put people in vulnerable positions and strip away their strength. This guy tries to back Frank off. Whoa, 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 what's your problem? But Frank already sees red. He's already got rage, like a ram, and all he does is one uppercut to the chin, knocking this guy out cold. Oh. Shoot. The reason why a hit to the chin / the jaw knocks people out is because the jaw acts as a lever for the entire head, and when the jaw is struck, it spins the entire head much faster than a direct hit to the skull. And when the brain experiences that sudden violent rotation, you simply just go to sleep. This is why shots to the chin are among the most reliable knockouts in combat sports, and this is a clean and efficient takedown from Frank here. Second guy charges in with a punch, and Frank blocks the punch and simultaneously drives a strike into the attacker's solar plexus. The choreography they have the Punisher doing here is so smart, and it's so perfect for his character. He's not wasting any motion, and he's going for the right spots on the body that will actually neutralize the threat. The solar plexus is a major bundle of nerves, and a clean hit to it will immediately make you nauseous, take the wind out of you, and just impair the attacker. Perfect demonstration of Frank's efficiency. They exchange some blocks, then Frank grabs behind the attacker's head, which again he does a lot, along with outstretching the limb. Then Frank is trying to choke this guy out, where a third attacker comes in from behind and puts a forearm behind Frank's ear. This is a really smart and really effective move. Behind the ear is another well-known knockout pressure point. Hitting it with a forearm bone, a very hard and dense bone, amplifies this impact. You know, something Mike Tyson would do is he would often appear to be hitting the side of the face, but what he's actually doing is he's reaching behind the person's ear and using his wrist bone to hit that part because it's an incredibly reliable knockout point. So this attacker's strategy here is actually really good. It's something a smart fighter would actually do. Frank is now being choked, and he grabs a nearby beer bottle and smashes it directly in the face of his attacker. That's brutal, and that's good. It's a good use of his environment. In a bar, there are improvised weapons everywhere.
Now this is a very dangerous weapon right here.
And multiple times, Frank instinctively uses them. An attacker pulls a knife and charges at Frank. Frank blocks with his forearm, getting his arm against the knife arm. Once a knife comes out, the calculus of a bar fight completely changes. Your life is not worth dying over a bar fight in real-world self-defense. This fight has clearly escalated beyond the casual brawl that it was at before. There's something more serious behind it. Frank disarms this guy and elbows him to the face, and the elbow is one of the hardest, densest bones of the body, which is why elbow strikes are so brutally effective. Frank stabs the attacker with the disarm knife, so he's escalating to lethal force after the knife was introduced by the other side. This is the moment where the bar fight crosses toward the prison fight's kind of lethality, but note that Frank still isn't just immediately killing everyone, but before he's just going for vulnerable areas to take people down. But once the killing weapons come out, he realizes how serious it is, and he matches that level of severity. Another attacker blocks Frank at the forearm and holds the arm for a moment. While Frank's dealing with him, this guy goes to shoot Frank, but this bystander saves him, which is pretty lucky. This guy elbows Frank, then slams this guy's head through the knife, and I think the knife goes through his temple here. And that's a very common place when stabbing the head, is to go for the temple, because it's the thinnest bone in the entire human skull. It's the most common entry point because the bone offers the least resistance. This guy's shooting at Frank and he's just dodging the shots, I guess. Not as bad as the beekeeper. Frank grabs a bar stool and throws it at the guy shooting at him. Bar stools can be used as weapons in a bar fight, but this guy's shooting at him and a bar stool is able to put him down. I guess when it comes to gun, a bar stool wins. This shotgun is left by this bartender who just got shot, and Frank picks it up and blows this girl to kingdom come. Frank hits this guy's gun, then puts the muzzle of the shotgun under this guy's chin. And Frank uses this shotgun as a melee weapon. He hits his knee with the shotgun, which is a real self-defense strategy. Joints are structural weak points, and hitting the knee hard enough takes the threat down. Then Frank just goes ham on this guy's face with a shotgun as a club, just absolutely destroying him. And then he's the last man standing in this entire bar. So in this scene, again, he holds back, but not until the lethal weapons come out. So overall, Frank decides to kill or not kill because of those two reasons. In the prison fight, it's because of his family. In these other fights, it's because lethal force is used and heinous crimes are being committed. In the prison scene, he's consumed by grief, rage, and vengeance, and he's being attacked. All that together, he's just gonna kill him. And by the way, something I really like about this show, or the Punisher himself, is whenever he's killing just based on the fact that someone's connected to the murder of his family, he's fully aware that this does nothing for his grief or bringing back his family by exacting revenge on these people.
I got a family of my own.
I don't.
What does it change if I'm dead?
That's what's so interesting about the Punisher. He just has vengeance, brutality, and a monster in his heart that he never plans to actually heal. But in the bar fight scenes, he's more controlled since he's protecting someone. In both scenes, he's efficient, he's brutal, he's angry, varying levels of rage, but he's mad in both. But when they push her luck, that's when he's like, let me tell you something. I'll tell you this right now. I'ma kill you. And when Frank's either going for the kill or holding back, like I said, he's still brutal. Sometimes more selectively, but he'll mess you up right to the point where you just barely won't die. Kind of like he did with this shotgun. And that brutality goes hand in hand with the efficiency. Nothing crazy is going on with these fights, just dirty close quarters combat, smart knowledge on where to target the body, neutralizing threats as quick as possible. And the reason he's able to keep going is because of his rage. His rage is his endurance. It's the thing that allows him to be pretty sloppy with his fighting and still dominate, because he'll just eat punches and stabs and everything and still go at people like a battering ram. And he'll do all of it with pursed lips and a stern look. So now, let me ask you this. The Punisher's great. He's pretty funny in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I really like John Bernthal as an actor. He's great in other action movies too, like The Accountant 2, and so on. So this is a really awesome show. These are really cool fight scenes. I like how grounded a lot of the moves are in realism. It actually seems to reflect what someone of his training would actually know and do. Anyway, awesome show. Cool fight scenes. New video soon. Peace.